Before we get into today's video, I wanted to share with you a link that I have down below. I wrote a short little mini ebook all about transitioning to full-time homemaking, and I shared a lot of my tips and tricks as well as just my experience and the things that I learned from leaving the hustle culture and staying home full-time. I found the transition very challenging, but I am now over 3 years into being home full-time, so I've been home for a while, but the transition is still fairly fresh in my mind. So I will leave the link down below. You can check it out if you're interested. And let's get into cooking in my kitchen. So if you've been following along, you're probably you're up to speed on this cottage kitchen. If you're new, you're probably wondering why this video is titled My Cottage Kitchen when it really doesn't look like a cottage kitchen. I mean, you can call anything a cottage kitchen if you want to, but I want to make my kitchen look more like a cottage kitchen. So we currently live right in town. We only have about a quarter acre, which is actually pretty good for in town. Our yard is quite large, which is really nice. But my ultimate dream would be to have a little bit more land. However, this is where we are, and I am just making the most of where we are, trying to learn things right where I'm at. And it's a slow process. Neither my husband or I grew up doing anything really homestead related, and we're not super into the homestead life, I guess. I probably am a little bit more than my husband, but I'd love to have a garden. I'd love to have chickens, just some small things like that. But not that those things are small, but compared to what some people are doing, they definitely are. So if you're new, that is why I'm calling it a cottage kitchen, because I want to make this house feel like a cottage. It's just that it really doesn't right now. So I have been slowly working at that, but in this video, I wanted to share some things that I've been cooking. The first clip was just me making tortillas for tacos, and I didn't get any other clips of that because I really didn't feel like anyone needs me to tell them how to make tacos, but maybe you need me to tell you to make tacos because they are something that we make every week, and I think they are just one of the easiest things. You can pack so many nutrients in a taco. Like, you've got the beef, you've got freshly milled tortillas, you can add veggies, you can add sour cream. I like the Nancy's probiotic sour cream. You can add raw cheese. There's just so much that you can add, and it's literally so easy. So tacos are one thing that I make almost every week because I don't have to give it much thought, and it's still a from scratch meal. And next up, I made some chicken and rice with veggies on the side, green beans. This is something that I make some variation of almost every week as well. Sometimes I do a whole chicken. This time I just had chicken breast, chopped them up, spiced it up, whatever spices, herbs, whatever you and your family like. And then I just served it with rice that I cooked in bone broth for added protein and nutrition, and then green beans on the side. So that like I said, I switch it up. You can easily add whatever you and your family like. We also often like to eat it with a gravy, so I just make a bone broth gravy. Sometimes I'll make it a cream sauce and add heavy cream to it, but this time I didn't. So the next meal that I'm working on in my cottage kitchen is sourdough pizza. I've been making our pizza dough with 100% freshly milled flour, and the nice thing about pizza is that you really can't tell the difference. I really enjoy it, and it still tastes delicious, and I know that we're getting all those extra nutrients. So this particular night we were going to have family over, so I made a couple of pizzas, and I also roasted some asparagus on the side and served that with fruit that my mom brought over, and then also some sourdough sugar cookies that I also made with freshly milled soft white wheat. I also love these because you literally cannot tell There are certain things that you can tell that you're using whole grains. It's different. And I will say, even with the pizza, like the texture is definitely a little bit different, but it just tastes so good on pizza that you can't tell beyond that. The same thing I could say about the cookies. They are just delicious, and it really, doesn't make much difference. So I feel good about serving those to my family. So I only have one pizza rack, so I usually, if I make more than one pizza, I do one circle pizza and then I'll do a square one, because the other thing I have is just a sheet pan. So I always use parchment paper, that way it's really easy for cleanup. And pizza is definitely, it's a little more involved than say tacos or even like just baking up chicken quick. But I don't know. Once you get the dough made, it's really not that hard. It's just assembling the pizza, takes a little bit of time, but it's still something that you can pack a lot of nutrients into. So we also eat pizza every week. And that is kind of a tip that I wanted to include in this video, is figure out what basic meals you and your family like. Most of us probably like things like spaghetti or tacos or pizza or hamburgers, things like that. And you can just basically make those things every week, or you could get on like a 2-week type of rotation if you have enough, meals in your back pocket that can get you through 2 weeks. You can do that. But I pretty much make the same things, like the same base things every week. I just switch things up. So, in a previous video, I made a chicken Alfredo pizza. Tacos, you could make chicken tacos. One thing that my mom would make growing up is she would put chicken in a crock pot and then you put salsa over it, cook it on low. I don't really know exactly how long she did it, probably 6 to 8 hours. You could probably look up a recipe, or just Google it. And you could have chicken tacos, so you could mix it up that way. You could do chicken fajitas. That's a little bit different, but it's still kind of in the taco family. Just so many things that you can do. And then also with making like chicken and rice or chicken and pasta, you can switch up the type of sauce that you make. So we really like gravy in our house. We love gravy on all sorts of things, so I make gravy a lot. But a cream sauce, you could even do, one time I made these chicken wraps, which this came from a recipe, but then I kind of just made it my own. I cooked up some chicken, had freshly milled tortillas, and I think I put lettuce on there, and then the sauce was similar to like a tzatziki sauce. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but kind of like that, but then also a ranch. Like it was kind of a cross between the two, and that was really good. So there's just lots of different things. I think it's so easy to overthink it, and I actually used to be very type A. I'm still type A about some things, for sure. But as I've stayed home and started to heal from the hustle culture and all that did to me and my body, I realized that I'm a lot more laid back about things. So also, I do think that comes with learning though too, because when I first started staying home, I've shared this before, but I made a sourdough discard pizza, and it literally took me 2 hours, like from start to finish, like making it, cleaning up and everything. And I was just like, after that I was like, I'm not gonna be able to cook from scratch. This is not gonna be sustainable. I can't do this every single day. And it's funny because now I'll just whip up like a certain meal, and actually the one that I'm making right now, which I will talk about next, is so easy to me, and it wasn't that way. So I think a little bit of it comes with time and skill. But all that to say, I am now at a point where I still do look at recipes, especially for inspiration or just wanting to try new things, but I find it a lot easier to just kind of have these base meals that we like. So anything that I've said in this video up till now, and then also this meal is a meatloaf. Typically I make this with potatoes, but I opened my fridge this particular day and realized I did not buy any potatoes. So I served it with rice, cooked in bone broth again, and I was showing you that in the pot because it's the first time that I don't think it's the first time. I have a hard time getting my bone broth to be gelatinous, and it was, so I was really proud of that this time, but I don't know. I always have a hard time getting it to do that. So anyway, like I said, having base meals is just so helpful. Pick what you and your family like and then just get creative from there. And I do think the more that we heal and slow down, at least for me, I'm a lot more confident. Like experimenting a little bit, I guess. And maybe for other people, it's not related to the hustle culture for them. They just like following recipes. That's totally fine if that's you. I just have found it to be a lot of fun to start experimenting. So having those base meals in place allows me to not really meal plan. I basically just write down the base meals in my planner, and then I just buy groceries surrounding that, and I get a little creative. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one.